We now bring you some of the pictures you sent to our eyewitness portal. First is this one showing a dilapidated government primary school in Agbalenyi, Enugu State. Our eyewitness reporter wants the relevant authorities to give the school a facelift. Next is this one showing a fuel-laden tanker with a failed brake system in Lokoja, Kogi State. Our reporter wants FRSC officials to be more alert to their duties to avoid incidents such as this. Finally, we have this one showing cows on a major road in Agege, Lagos State. Our reporter says this has been on for days and the residents want law enforcement agents to check the activities of the herdsmen. The increasing number of failing infrastructure in Nigeria is a result of erosion, and this calls for great concern and requires long-term solution from government at all levels. The next report examines the impact of this environmental disaster on the economy and the well-being of the people.
Every country has its own environmental challenge. In Nigeria, erosion seems to be the biggest environmental threat. From the north to the west and down to the east, the situation has remained worrisome. The environmental situation also puts the nation's infrastructure in danger, as most are often washed away by flood. The threats posed to lives and property by this natural disaster have prompted successive governments at the federal and state level to embark on erosion control programs. But the situation remains unchanged. Recently, the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Works has been visiting erosion-ravaged sites across the country. From Anambra to Edo and Imo states, the committee, led by Senator Barnabas Jemade, is faced with horrible sights and the experience people go through as a result of collapsed infrastructure due to erosion.
We have seen we have had our full fill of the distressed nature of highways. This particular rainy season has actually made things worse, and long years of neglect of maintenance have also given a big toll on roads. But we're happy that it's a changed government now, and things will no longer be the same. We believe that the attention that will be paid in this sector will be completely different from what we saw before. We will put our report and put our voice, and the resolutions of Parliament are meant to be taken seriously by the executive branch.
The visit of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee is expected to fast-track intervention and yield desired results. The government must also understand that the security of lives and property is at stake here and must seek an end to this environmental menace.
For more on that, back to our Abuja studios with Linda Akigbe.
Welcome back to Abuja. Now, joining me on the news at 10 to discuss the recent oversight tour on erosion sites and roads by the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Works is Senator Uche Ekwunife. Senator Ekwunife, welcome to the news at 10.
Thank you very much, Linda.
Now, you were part of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee that recently toured some states in the country to assess the state of roads. Can you give us your assessment on the true situation across the communities you visited? I know you went to Edo State.
Yeah, we visited Anambra State, we visited Akwa Ibom State, we visited Edo State, Abia State, and the conditions of our roads are quite, quite bad. The roads are really in a deplorable situation and conditions. For Anambra, for instance, the road from Enugu to Oka to Onitsha is terribly bad, and that has crippled all the economic activities in that zone.
And that's a federal road.
And that's a federal road. And that road leads to north central, it leads to south and southeast. So you can imagine the devastating effect it will have on economic activities of that area. Onitsha main market used to be the largest market in Africa, but as I talk to you now, the entire business is about to collapse because people cannot access that market. We also visited Akwa Ibom State. The situation there is also terribly bad.
In Akwa Ibom
State. We visited Abia State, the road that is Okigwe and Aba Okigwe Road. It is in a very terrible situation. We visited Edo State. That Edo State Road is also in a very sorry situation. So to a large extent, I think our federal roads in those zones are quite bad.
Going forward, how can we address this problem?
In so many ways we can address the problem. Definitely the way I'm saying that I don't see government embarking on massive road infrastructure now because of the cost the cost implication. I think this time around the government has to get private sector to participate in ensuring that we have enduring infrastructural activities. If government engages private companies to be involved in the infrastructure, that will help us to have our infrastructure in place. We have what we call BOT, build, operate, and transfer. We also have MOT, maintain, operate, and transfer. It is capital intensive, and the massive, deplorable situation of our roads is something the government cannot do alone. So when they get public sector to participate, public sector will help to put the roads in order and recoup their money from there. Every Nigerian wants to see a motorable road. Every Nigerian wants to see an enduring road. And with that, with public-private participation in infrastructure, that will help the government to have, enduring and well-maintained road.
All right, thank you very much, Senator Ekwunife, for joining us on the News at 10. And that's all from Abuja. Back to you in Lagos.
Many thanks, Linda. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has restrained the Financial Reporting Council from interfering in the operations of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC pending the hearing and final determination of a suit challenging the actions of the regulatory agency. In a ruling on the motion for interlocutory injunction filed by Stanbic IBTC Holdings, the presiding justice, Ibrahim Buba, also barred the FRC from inviting the company's entire board of directors to any meeting in connection with any statutory investigation. Our judiciary correspondent Shola Shoyele reports.
Stanbic IBTC sued the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria (FRCN) and the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion (NOTAP) before the Federal High Court in Lagos over certain regulatory decisions it took against the bank. The bank asked the court to grant an interlocutory injunction pending the hearing and determination of some questions it set out in its originating summons. The questions include whether the failure to register under NOTAP makes an agreement illegal and whether the FRCN has powers to summon directors and impose fines without prosecution, trial, or conviction. The bank also asked the court to determine whether the FRCN has powers to license directors of companies and whether licenses granted could be suspended by the FRCN without any opportunity given to show whether or not they are fit for registration, assuming that such registration is required. The bank urged the court to set aside a letter dated October 26, which imposed certain fines and sanctions on it. The court resolved all these issues in favor of the bank and dismissed the objections of FRCN's counsel, Mr. Olushina Shofola, SAN.
Especially the paragraph 3 of the application for injunction, which said that they should not interfere with Stanbic and any of its subsidiaries in any way. They shouldn't hinder, molest, obstruct, or in any way hinder them in the conduct of their lawful business. And I think that this is quite important because we're all approaching the year end and the season of financial reporting, and we don't want the Financial Reporting Council to make new demands which it has no power to make.
Sorry, sir, I just want you to explain to us what happened.
Counsel representing FRCN declined to comment on camera. The court has, however, adjourned further proceedings till Friday to hear the motion by an interested party who was asked to be joined in the suit. Shola Shoyeli, Channels Television News.
Next on the News at 10, business stories with Anne Wawada.
You first. First Bank.
Hello and welcome to Business News. The Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, NETI, is advocating a reduction in the current 35% crude oil allocation to the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation as the country's 4 refineries perform far below their installed capacity. NETI's outgoing Executive Secretary, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, believes implementing recommendations contained in NETI's audit report, which includes a reduction in crude oil allocation to NNPC, will encourage more capacity development for local refineries.
I urge the NNPC team to take an in-depth look at all of the NETI audit reports with a view to implementing the recommendations of the findings contained in this report. There is also the need to review all operating agreements and MOUs and take a proactive approach in determining fiscal regimes in the industry for the overall benefit of our country.
The federal government plans to raise 50 billion naira worth of bonds at an auction on the 11th of November. The DMO says that the bills will mature in February 2020 and March 2024. Using the Dutch auction system, the agency will issue 30 billion naira worth in the 2020 paper and 20 billion naira worth in the 2024 paper. Well, all the debt is a reopening of previously issued papers, while results of the auction will be released on the 12th of November 2015. The Debt Management Office has restructured the 575.51 billion naira bank loans owed by 23 states into FGN bonds. And according to the DMO, this is part of efforts by the federal government to rescue the states which are unable to meet their financial obligations. Director General of the Debt Management Office, Dr. Abraham Nwakwo, explained that the short-term restructuring option would be to refinance the commercial bank loans with bonds of up to 20 years. Mr. Nwakwa says the restructuring was effected using a reopening of FGN bonds issued on July the 18th, 2014 and maturing on July 18, 2034. Highlighting the benefits of the restructuring, the DMO boss says that the debt office burden after the extension of tenor and reduction in interest rates had dropped substantially, ranging from about 55% for some states to about 97% for other states. Meanwhile, Mr. Nwakwa has called for the diversification and industrialization of the nation's economy. He's advised states to boost the internally generated revenue and CFAAC as additional inflows. Well, the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange was all red today, with the all-share index pegged at 29,032.44. Temple Ashadri tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The bears held sway at the Nigerian equities market as key indicators ended on a negative note for a third straight session this week. The all-share index depreciated by 0.07% to close at 29,032.44 with a market capitalization of 9.97 trillion naira. Mobil led the day's top losers with 9.75 at 138 naira 99 kobo. Nestle followed with a 0.85% loss, while 7up ended down 2.55% at 191 naira. On the other hand, Guinness, UACN and Stanbic IBTC recorded the gains of almost 5% each. And the financial services dominated the activity charts with Access Bank, ETI and of course Zenith Bank in the top 3 category. Now at the end of the day's session, volume came in at 181.60, valued at 2.05 billion naira in over 3,000 deals. And that does it for the Stock Market Report. I'm Temple Ashaju.
Thanks a lot, Temple. Let's move now to markets around the globe to see some of the figures. Business News for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawodo. Sulaiman will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
You first. First Bank.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Lobby Stars seek review of the penalty handed to Sunshine Stars FC for assaulting their officials during a Nigeria professional football game in Akure. That's in sports news. Do stay with us.